It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your hosts, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Yeah, there we go. What is going on, my pretty babies? We are in a new era of the RCWR show, and we'll see how it goes this first night. Why are we officially in a new era tonight? Because I have essentially said bon voyage to our old streaming syndicator known as Restream. They have been having so many issues these past several months. I told you guys as early as our Monday show that by the time we get to our Wednesday night show talking all things AEW, as they've got that All In event going down this weekend, we're going to look at the full card, offer predictions, that whole jazz. I told you guys, I promised you guys that by the time we get to Wednesday night, I was going to have everything worked out, especially as far as the learning curve. Now, there's still a couple of hiccups here and there with me learning about StreamYard, but it's been seamlessly a very smooth transition so far, I gotta say. So shout out to my fellow friends in the podcasting world out there. If you want to offer me some tips, some really solid advice, feel free to bring it. But I'm telling you, I am loving it so far. I am loving it so far. So we'll see how this goes. The best part that I love about the new guys that we are hooked up with, I love the fact that I don't have to involve some silly ass third party, fourth party, fifth party apps. So I can essentially see where everybody is coming from when they're commenting and all that. Now, sadly, I did not get a chance to put the poll up because I was still messing around in the background because I wanted to know what you guys thought about this week's AEW Dynamite. But I think for the most part, those of us that watch the show in real time, even those of us that's going to be watching this on our DVRs later, because I know a lot of people, and by the way, appreciate you guys that's tuning in live right now, particularly because we are into night 3 of the Democratic National Convention. And look, I'll talk a lot more about that with Tams on this weekend's Wrestling with the Topics. But man, I gotta tell you, one thing that I don't think anybody can deny, regardless of your political affiliation, the energy that has been at that DNC all this week. I mean, it's night and day, isn't it? I mean, you got to admit that at least it's night and day. And I mean that in a, wow, I thought this was something, but now that I'm looking at what's going on over here in the DNC, man, they've got this energetic young person. They've got this young person coming up. They've got this person over here. They got this powerhouse. They got that powerhouse. God damn, I forgot they got this person over here. There is just a plethora of, wait, what? I don't know. It's like night and day. We'll talk more about it on this weekend's Wrestling with the Topics. But no, I think anybody that saw tonight's Dynamite would be in agreement. Yo, this was really strong. It was a really strong episode, a really solid go-home edition. I gotta say, one of the far better shows, entertaining shows I have seen from Dynamite in recent weeks. But I would even go as far as to say that for a go home and setting up one of their major pay-per-views or just AEW pay-per-view in general, minus the whole collaborations with New Japan, this was a really great go home show. I would imagine, though, that the numbers are maybe the numbers will take a little bit of a hit as far as the viewership. I'll offer my predictions in a little while, but I would not be surprised if, because it's night 3 of the DNC rally, I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of takes into their viewership just a little bit, but I don't think by much. So, of course, the biggest question going into All In, not how long is the pay-per-view going to be. I know that's on the minds of some of you guys, because I know most of you guys, you're either already back at school or you're getting ready to go back for sure this coming Monday. Hopefully the pay-per-view won't be that long, but no. One of the burning questions, what is going on with Bryan Danielson? Are we essentially seeing the last of Bryan Danielson in AEW as a full-time, or if you want to say, no, technically it's a part-time wrestler league? Regardless, are we seeing the last of Bryan Danielson as an in-ring competitor? We'll talk a lot more about that. I love the fact that what closed out tonight's show, and all eyes should be on that AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I love that Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson closed out the show, because all eyes should be on that championship. I love that we've had Swerve Strickland coming out there challenging Bryan Danielson. Essentially, both men challenging each other week after week, but more so Swerve Strickland challenging Bryan Danielson. Hey, I need that dog. You feel me? I need that Bryan Danielson that is going to scratch, that's going to fight, that's going to bite, that's going to claw his way to taking this World Heavyweight Championship off of my cold dead hands, yo. That's the Bryan Danielson that I need to show up, because this Bryan Danielson is talking about he want to play with his kids. He won't be at home with his wife. He's thinking about surgery. I can't do nothing with this. You bring that to the dance, yeah, you can take it to the bank and cash that check. I'm going to eat that dude up. I'm going to eat that version of Bryan Danielson up. And I love Bryan Danielson coming out there, done with all the talking, just slug the hell out of Swerve Strickland, and said a couple of times, I'm the motherfucking American Dragon. I love that Danielson. It's rare that he curses. It really is. It's very rare. But when he does it, it's so impactful, isn't it? It's so meaningful. It's so, Danielson, because he is so well-mannered, very low-key, just so chill. For him to just come out there like that, you're like, oh, you got my attention now. I love that strong message that Danielson sent to Swerve Strickland. Yo, make no mistake about it. Just because I don't say too much, just because you're under the impression I'm not that dog, yo, I am that motherfucking dog. I've been that dog for 20 plus years now, and that's exactly who you're facing at All In. Make no mistake about it. So I love that checkmate that Danielson gave to Strickland tonight. I ate that up big time. That has been handled very well. And of course, it has the entire wrestling community so divided, because you hear all the stuff that Danielson has been saying in interviews, especially about, hey, when my in-ring career is over, there's this much needed surgery that I need to get. I need this. It'll help me out as far as my quality of life. And the longer I put that off. So you have that in the back of your mind, and you can't help but really look at this match and go, what direction are we going to go here as far as the finish? Again, we'll talk about that when we get ready to preview and offer predictions for AEW All In. But great crowd that they were in front of tonight for this Dynamite. I love that crowd. That was such a really great crowd. Cardiff, was it not? I believe that was in Cardiff, where they were. I'm trying to look at my notes here real quick. I'm trying to find it. I think I got it right though. Opening up the show, Britt Baker, Mercedes Moné, Camille Brickhouse, having that whole contract signing go down between Monet and Baker. Good stuff. I love that Camille just basically stood there. And if I'm not mistaken, by the way, in regards to Camille, I don't like how Tony Khan and crew have had, because now it's been a couple of weeks. I don't like how they have been presenting the Camille Brickhouse character so far. I want to push back on something that Bully Ray said in regards to Camille. Now, I don't know if you guys had picked up on this and everything, but Bully Ray had recently said something along the lines of they need to do AEW, Tony Khan and crew, they need to do Camille Brickhouse like China. I want to push back on that as somebody that has extensively watched the career of Camille Brickhouse as far back as her time in the NWA. While everybody was still asleep on Camille Brickhouse before she even made her first appearance in AEW years before that, was already peeping out Camille, and I was singing her praises way back when that, yo, this is a woman who can truly be a big breakout star in the wrestling industry. Don't be sleeping on this girl. You know, y'all want to pay attention to her. And say what you will, but like when you really stop and think about some of the women, even guys, but mainly the women that I've hipped you guys to over the years, even if they have been as controversial as, say, a Tessa Blanchard, you got to give me the devil its due. Hey, no matter what, Lee did say, watch this name, and Willow Nightingale. I remember when she was really just still unknown on the independents, but she had her favorites that was following her. I remember trying to hip you guys to her back when she was pushing the name Eye Candy on Wild Women of Wrestling. I don't know if she carried that name over to the independents, but I remember hipping you guys way back then. This is just example after example of people I've tried to hip you guys to before they even blew up. To hear Bully Ray say they need to do Camille like China, I can easily push back on that and say, no, don't do Camille like China. Do Camille like Camille, because she is one and only. Anybody that has taken the time out, and I get where Bully Ray is coming from respectfully and everything, but anybody that had taken the time out to watch how Camille was done in the NWA, you go, if you could find one thing negative about Camille in the NWA, it would be, man, they started letting her talk. Now, Camille will most likely push back on. I love Camille. She's one of my Twitter buddies, by the way. I'm sure she would push back on that and say, well, I'm more than just muscles, shoulders, kicking ass. I do have personality as well, and I want to showcase some of that. I can talk. I want to showcase some of that. And I know when Camille initially, I still remember when she first began talking in the NWA. Nobody, let me repeat that one more time and emphasize that. Nobody was under the impression that she had a twang in her accent. Nobody was under the impression there was going to be a little bit of southernness going on when she opened her mouth. That was the least thing that people were expecting to come from her. But that's what happened. I still remember one of the first times she spoke. It took me back. I went, and then I said, huh. And if anything, it made me go, hearing that accent, hey, you're kind of cute. You were cute before. Now you're even cuter because you got that little southern twang going on, right? I like a southern woman. y'all should be able to tell that, given who my wife is, and when you hear her talk, you can hear the Southern twang, right? So I love a Southern woman. But you look at how she was done in the NWA. She was this powerful, just this big powerhouse, deadly assassin, did not speak, let her actions speak in the ring, did not back down from anybody, always up for the freaking challenge. I need that blueprint that Billy Corrigan and them did in the NWA. That's the blueprint that I need to carry over into AEW. I'm trying to remember who was the female wrestler from a couple of weeks ago that Camille backed down. She had an opportunity to face them up head on, and then she backed down. I kind of feel like maybe it was Sheeta, but I'm not sure. You guys jog my memory if I'm thinking about the person right and everything. But I just remember looking at Camille back down from them. No. We're already messing this up, was my thought process. No. Don't have Camille. No, let her. Okay, you think you can take me on? Poppy Lab says, you see that commercial with Poppy, the baseball player? Poppy Lab said, ha, let that be Camille. Let that be Camille. But definitely do not have Camille talk. Do not have her talk for a significant period of time. Let her be this mysterious figure. You don't know how she sounds. You don't know, what her motivation is. You don't know, like, just that's how we need to do that. So I just thought that was a interesting point of observation to bring, because you can tell, my whole point, you can tell who's been watching the career of Camille. And I think a lot of people will say that watched her career in the NWA. They will say without a shadow of doubt, yeah, man, no. There was only one China, Joni Lauer. What Camille was doing in the NWA and everything, it topped that. So if anything, no, don't strive to be, no, you already are your own unique. You just need for the new creative team in AEW to be able to take some of those core concepts that worked for you initially. And also my message to Tony Khan and crew, learn from your mistakes with Jade Cargill. Learn from your mistakes with Jade Cargill and make sure history does not repeat itself again. Because, really stop and think about how Jade Cargill was done. Make no mistake about it. They built her up. They did everything right. But man, once you took away all that mystique, once you took away essentially her winning streak, once you had her lose not once but twice, and it kind of came off as if, well, that's pretty much it. We ain't really got nothing else. We can kind of, now she's just an average Joe. There was just no recovery from that whatsoever. So that would be my message in a nutshell. I gotta also give Tony Khan and crew bonus points for this contract signing from this standpoint. They had Mercedes Moné not really talk. They let Britt Baker be the one to pretty much sell that segment, and I totally was fine for that. Mercedes Moné did a great job with the facial expressions, all that good stuff. Really didn't need her to say that much, and the little bit that she did say, short, to the point. That's how you want to do it. That is how you protect your talents. That is how you cover up the flaws of some of your talents. Sadly, Mercedes Moné talking is not her greatest selling point. God bless those that think of the heaven, the moon, the stars, the universe of Mercedes Moné. But those of us that are more grounded to reality, that's been watching her for a long time, yeah, no. It's something that WWE did very well was, okay, yeah, we can't have her out there for 10, 15, 20 minutes, just on and on with it. No. No. She needs help. She needs a supporting cast, and this is how we can pretty much help her out. So I like how they did that. Look, anytime, any day of the week, you've got these whole stories being put out there that Mercedes Mone is making X amount of money. She's getting paid more money than all the women on the AEW roster. Anytime you got those type of reports out there, Mercedes Mone only cares about herself, right down to the point, that first podcast that was put out there, which, by the way, if you have not heard, not this past week's solo edition of Wrestling with the Topics, but the episode before, where I literally had a verbal meltdown talking about Mercedes Mone and her first podcast that she dropped. Go check that out because of all the topics to go over. Don't get me hot and worked up because I've already got my heat. Let me tell you something. It's so cold over here in the DC metropolitan area. I have my heat on in the background. You guys can't hear it because I got noise cancellation on and everything, but I have a little portable heater in the background that's on. That's how cold it has been the past couple of nights. But I'm already, to my point, I'm already hot and worked up. Don't get me started on Mercedes Mone again and that very first podcast she dropped where she talked about, I got my divorce. I'm free. Like she was in an abusive relationship or whatever. But anyway, the way they had all that set up with Britt Baker, any day of the week, if you have somebody like a Britt Baker that can bring up those zingers, all you care about is yourself. You just care about being the most paid AEW talent on the roster. What you're committing is highway robbery. You're just all about yourself. And it was kind of funny, not to talk politics, but if you really stop and think about it, I mean, she's like a female version of, I mean, anyway, kudos. Love the way that was set up. Even like the fact that Britt Baker got a little bit of a beat down per se on Camille, getting the jump on her and all that. That was a nice little touch. So they did good from that standpoint. While we're talking about the women, by the way, kudos to the match that went down between Toni Storm and Saraya. Look, safe to say, a lot of people, that title ain't changing hands, but it was nice to essentially, I got to tell you, because I still, believe it or not, cover AEW Rampage over on the 401 Mania site on Fridays, although I'm curious to see how future Fridays are going to be going September on, because I've got a full plate on my hands returning to college, and it's my busiest semester yet. I'm doing like almost 20 credit hours of courses because I'm like that close to, if I do this right, I'm pretty much going to have my degree somewhere in the first quarter of 2025. So I'm like very, very ecstatic and everything. But I am looking, going back to Rampage. I like the fact that when I was watching and reporting Rampage last week, to further create interest into this week's Dynamite, it was first revealed on that Rampage that Saraya was going to have a title opportunity against Toni Storm. So I like that what AEW has been doing off and on these past couple of weeks with Rampage. They've been creating some type of an incentive for, if you happen to tune in, hey, you're being rewarded because these characters are popping up on this show and they're further progressing this story arc and or setting up this match that's going to be going down on next week's Dynamite. So I love that they are doing that. More please, AEW. But I didn't think that the title was going to change hands. The match was mediocre at best. I really didn't sink my teeth too much into it like that, as most people would. Kind of felt like I was watching a house show match, like a dark house show match, just a filler. That's all it felt like, really. There you go, perfect word, a filler. That's all it was. Speaking of Saraya, and I like how we're having this nice flow, just going about it and everything. I was going to bring it up later on, but since we're talking about Saraya, got some reports that's floating around out there about her status with AEW. It would appear as though her contract, take it with a grain of salt, but it would appear her contract is about to expire. Neither her nor AEW have agreed to a new contract deal and or an extension. Now, apparently there's some type of an option where AEW can execute. And my wife kind of said it best as I was explaining it to her earlier tonight. Yeah, her and the family, they're back. Her and the family are back. I was left alone for several days. I didn't mind being alone, honestly. I could have easily gone with them, but then it would have been a case of, well, who's going to watch our furry little daughters, right? Because, they can be a handful, especially with new people they aren't familiar with. So I just decided to stay behind. I wanted to catch up on some rest anyway, do some stuff around the house, run a few errands, take care of some health related stuff. So they totally were fine with it and everything. But it's like I said to my wife earlier tonight about the whole Saraya AEW situation, and she came right back and she said, "Oh, so essentially, if Tony Khan and them wants to, they can pretty much do a franchise tag on Saraya, essentially." And I looked at her for a second, not in a bewildered kind of way, but I just looked at her and I was like, "That's a really nice way to break that down." I said, "Yeah, exactly." I was like, "Yeah, exactly." Right. So I'm curious if Tony Khan and crew are going to execute that clause. I'm curious if they're gonna pull the trigger on that or not. Now, look, I'm giving it to you guys right between the eyes because you guys expect for the honesty, right? Part of the show creed motto, keeping it honest, keeping it insightful, keeping it interactive. That's our creed model since 2011. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. I remember when Saraya first came to AEW, I was ecstatic for her, very ecstatic for her, because in my heart, I said, okay, look, I'm seeing what's going on with, I think at that point, Edge, Adam Copeland, he was back. Bryan Danielson, he came back. Looking at Saraya, she's getting the itch. She thinks that there's still a lot left there on the table. She thinks that she can still go out there, do it and everything. WWE, other plans. So sadly, didn't work out. And from the interviews that she gave, remember, she said, hey, WWE, they never approached me about doing an in-ring return. I know I brought up a couple of ideas to them, but nothing ever came to fruition. Like, they never approached me, and I was trying. Like, okay, fine. So for her to get the opportunity in AEW, I was ecstatic. I was very ecstatic for her because I wanted to see her, especially going in with this mindset as a fan. Okay, well, if she feels she can do this and she's got the clearance to do it, okay, and these people over here are going to essentially deny her, keep her, whatever the excuse is they want to use. She's getting that opportunity elsewhere to do XYZ. Hey, man, more power to the sister. Go ahead. Let's see what she can do. So I was happy for her. Happy that she eventually became an AEW women's champion and all that. Happy, right? But this hasn't been the same Saraya Knight. This hasn't been the same woman that we all grew up on, that we all were paying attention to many years prior. Coming from that whole Knight family, this pre-injury to now, night and day. Night and day. And I think that for however much money was given to Saraya Knight, I hope that she was very smart with her money. She invested it in all the right places and everything. But if I could have the ear of Tony Khan and crew, I'm going, my dog, my dude, Tony, baby, right? I'm going, dude, look, You are spending way too much money on talents, some that are not even deserving of a paycheck. It is time to reel some of that money back. Okay. We are seeing and we have been seeing red for far too long when it comes to how much, there's a rule in the Sanders household. There's a rule in the Sanders household. Whenever we go, oh, I want to go get this, want to go get that, oh yeah, got to get this. Yeah, I want to go get that. The rule in the Sanders household is, okay, that's fine that you want to keep getting, but you do realize that's a lot of money that's going out, and there's very little that's coming in. So we got to make sure that we're balancing things out. Got to make sure we're balancing the books, right? I know many households around the world have that same conversation. I'm looking at every single time I turn around, and Tony Khan has essentially hired somebody. Somebody had like a ridiculous number that was out there a couple of weeks ago. I know one person had said there's like 300 people that's hired on AEW's payroll, like in talents or whatever. And I'm going, yeah, that's not really hard to believe. Yeah, sure. But we, not to get too sidetracked, we need to reel some of that money back. I hate to say that because I know a lot of people are big Saraya Knight fans, all that. But like at the end of the day, you know what I've been saying on this show for years. If it's not making dollars, it's not making sense. I'm talking about that common sense, right? So this is one of those situations where, okay, what do I really gain from continuing to have, insert this name? In this case, we're going with Saraya. What's there really to gain from continuing to have this person on my payroll? How do I benefit from them continuing to be on my payroll? What do they contribute to the roster, if at all? And, look, at this point, I think the serious conversation needs to be asked in regards to Saraya. Okay, look, do I really need her as an in-ring competitor, or would she work better, more efficient, more valuable behind the scenes, helping out in creative story arcs for my women's division, putting together the matches? Like, I think those are the conversations that Tony Khan and crew need to be having amongst themselves with talent such as Saraya and anybody else for that matter. Uh, I had to address that because I when I saw the report that was out there about Saraya and her whole contract status, you would think, well, this should be a no brainer because, you know, look, and to Tony Khan's credit, he has let some contracts just expire. No renew option, just no re-up, nothing, just all right, contract has expired. That's it. Bon voyage, right? He's let it run its course. But you still need to do a better job. 5 years in, and you're seeing so much red in the books. Not to get too deep into the business side of things and everything, but look, when you are running your own business, you are scrutinizing the hell out of your books. You are scrutinizing the hell out of your books. Whether you are a podcaster and you're trying to take on advertisers and you're looking at your show expenses that's going out every month, everything show related, or you have your own restaurant, or whatever your respective business is, you are constantly scrutinizing your books, not just making sure that everything's balancing out, but you're making sure that at the end of the day, you are bringing in some type of a profit. Because when you're not bringing in a profit and you're constantly putting out there, it's constantly withdrawals, than, more withdrawals than deposits. You're looking for every single possible way that you can save money, especially if that means you need to cut on some corners. Just something to think about, something to marinate on, for you younger cats out there. We did see the new Dynamite Kid in action tonight against Chris Jericho. This put a legit smile on my face. I have not watched him because I know he's been on AEW programming a couple of times already, but this was actually my first time watching him in action tonight against Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, Tommy Billington. I thought the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, did pretty good. It's funny. I was watching him, certain mannerisms, certain moves. I just had flashes of the original Dynamite Kid. And it was kind of one of those moments where, I'm watching this with the wife and I say to her, yeah, he looks kind of like, and I start, telling her stories about the original Dynamite Kid and everything. This was a nice, proper introduction on a bigger, grander stage, I think, for the wrestling community, for Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billinger. It's interesting because as I was watching this match, there was nothing special. I felt like at first, again, I'm calling it right down the middle, unbiased here. But when I'm watching Tommy Billinger, I'm just going, all right, enhancement talent. I'm not going to say jobber. Enhancement talent, nothing really. But then as the match progressed, we started seeing Tommy get warmed up on the offense. And you're going, oh, okay. Hey. Oh, yeah, that's shades of the old Dynamite. Right. I loved how this match was designed when it was all said and done. I loved how it was designed. I think when it's all said and done in regards to Chris Jericho and Hook, I love what's been happening with these two guys, Hook and Jericho. That's been a really great feud, the way that's been handled. Where I push back just a little bit, I can't help but wonder if it was really the right decision to have Chris Jericho go over Tommy Billington on this night. I just can't really, I can't help but wonder. I almost kind of feel as though maybe what would have been a better way to kind of protect Tommy Billington a bit would have been, maybe at some point, who's the guy? Who's the black guy again? The bounty hunter. I was getting ready to say Keith Urban. Getting ready to say Keith Urban. I'm thinking Keith David. I'm calling him all kinds of weird, messed up names, knowing damn well, no, that's not it. But y'all know who I'm talking about. He's part of the learning tree there. Keith something. Let's just call him Keith Urban. Damn, ain't that messed up? Ain't that messed up? I gotta call the brother. He just happens to be a brother too. It's like, let's call him Keith Urban, right? And I'm not even thinking about the actual country star Keith Urban. Just, what's this black guy's name? Well, let's see. He's a black cowboy. Keith Urban. We're like, yeah, that works. All right, your name's Keith Urban. Go out there. But I think it would have been kind of a better option if maybe Keith would have interfered. That would have distracted Billington. Somehow in the process, it cost him that win on Jericho. Maybe you have somewhat of a learning tree beatdown on Billington, and Hook tries to come to the rescue. I just wish it wasn't a clean, 1, 2, 3, like that's it. Tommy Billington, all right, you lose. Wasn't quite a fan of that per se, because I'm just thinking about the lineage, the history of the Dynamite family, right? That's just me. I mean, that's just a sucker in me. So if you want to say I'm being a little bit biased here when it comes to Dynamite Kid, all things Dynamite Kid, because I'm a big Dynamite Kid fan. So, Yeah, I probably am not really the one to be talking about this, at great length, but that just rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know how about you guys, but it definitely rubbed me the wrong way. See, some other action on tonight's Dynamite. Just trying to think what else. I'm looking at my notes here. So we went over that match. We already talked about Toni Storm and Saraya. Backstage segment, Kylie O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, Willow Nightingale, Ishii, Mark Briscoe. I love watching these guys cutting their promos, man. Especially Mark Briscoe. I love hearing them cutting it up and everything. Will Ospreay and MJF had a good segment. They had a really good talking segment. This was basically a dick measuring contest for all intents and purposes. MJF trying to spin the story on how Tony Khan and Warner Brother Discovery executives, they basically begged him to come back, because essentially they did not trust this Will Ospreay guy. They needed their main meat and potatoes. They needed their main guy to come on back and everything. It was nice back and forth banter between both men. Good stuff. I like how Will Ospreay came right back saying, look, Tony Khan has at least 3,000 people that signed in the back there. And yet Tony Khan picked up the phone and called little old me. Right. And basically said to MJF, one of the things that Tony Khan had said to Ospreay was to please go out there and put on a good wrestling match, because Lord knows MJF ain't going to do it. I mean, I popped hard on that. That was good. That was good. That had me just, I loved it. Crowd ate that up as well. Eventually we see these guys have a little bit of a little throwdown with one another. MJF trying to go for he got in a low blow, but then I remember he tried to follow it up with his assault on Ospreay. He tried to get in the Tiger Driver, but he wasn't able to pull it off because Christopher Daniels and other officials, they got involved and they pretty much broke all that up. And I loved seeing that final segment. It was a backstage segment where Ospreay was being checked on, and you had Danielson right before his final segment with Strickland. He says, and he keeps it short and simple, but he says to Ospreay, listen to me, do it. Basically giving Ospreay the green light. Put that mother MJF down. If you got to use the Tiger Driver, dude, you've got my blessing. I love how they pretty much, it's just those little things, those little nuances, right? Stuff that you can just easily forget about that happened a couple of months back. I love how they essentially came back full circle here. Because remember when Ospreay did that move on Danielson, Ospreay, I'm never going to do that again. All the problems that Danielson is having, bro, I'm so sorry about that. I didn't mean it. And he pretty much retired the move. And now you have Danielson pretty much telling that guy, don't let that move be the excuse as to why you may not be able to beat MJF. Like, dude, I'm telling you, go out there, do the damn thing. Do it. If you got to use the move, it's okay. Do it. Cripple them. I don't care. All right. Good stuff. I love that. AEW Continental Championship match. Claudio Castagnoli taking on Okada. It was a draw. Ended up being a draw. Pretty damn good match. I would definitely say as far as matches of the night, that's definitely the one I would highlight. If you happen to not watch Dynamite, but you got it on your DVR, I would definitely say of all the matches on the card, that's the one you definitely want to check out. Young Bucks came out afterwards, congratulating both men on a phenomenal matchup, playing up to the crowd. How would you guys like to see 5 more minutes? And pretty much egging them on, letting them know, yeah, that ain't happening. You can pretty much forget about that. They get in the ring alongside Jack Perry. Looks like some stuff is about to go down when Darby Allin appears. Pretty much, we go into our next match. FTR and Darby Allin taking on the Young Bucks and Jack Perry. Darby Allin and FTR picking up the win. Decent, fun match. Fun match for the most part. Acclaim coming out afterwards, having some words for the Bucks yet again here. I'm very excited to see their tag match too. I'm hoping that the Acclaim get those tag titles. I'm really hoping they get those tag titles. Other than that, that was Dynamite for this week. That first hour went by with such a breeze. But at the same time, you're playing it back in your mind. There was definitely a lot of promo stuff, a lot of talking during that first hour. But don't get me wrong, the Will Ospreay MJF promo, that was great. Great match with Claudio, Castagnoli, Okada. Good stuff as well. Even the match there with Darby Allin, FTR, Bucks, and all. Even that was pretty good. A well-rounded, solid episode of AEW Dynamite for this week. I would have to say it was a good go-home show. As I said at the top, it was definitely a good go-home show. Now let's talk about the ratings. I was talking about this at the top of the show and everything. So last Wednesday's Dynamite averaged 703,000. Considering the fact that we've got the DNC convention going down, DNC rally going on, this is night 3 of 4 and everything. I think what's going on with tonight's joint, because remember the speakers for tonight, for those of you that haven't even been bothering, seeing what's going on. Last night was the main meat and potatoes, I felt. But let's not forget, Thursday, Kamala Harris still has to speak. Tonight, it's basically Bill Clinton. Who else? Tim Walz is supposed to speak. He's supposed to accept the nomination for vice president. Running for vice president. I'm trying to think who else. Oprah Winfrey is supposed to be speaking as well. I still think that's gonna eat into Dynamite's numbers. Maybe not so much the first hour, but maybe more so that second hour. I would not be surprised if there was a significant decline from the first hour going into the second hour. So 703,000 for this past Wednesday. I'm gonna jump out there. What do you guys think? I'm gonna say 648,000. 648,000. I can't go lower. I can't go higher. I'm going to say 648,000. So just remember that. And I'm actually jotting that down as we speak. But 684,000 is what I'm projecting is going to happen. I love that we've been streaming for almost 50 minutes so far. And no issues whatsoever. I love this. So if you're just now tuning in, I've been having headaches with our old multi-stream provider in Restream, and they've just been a headache. And it's like, what the hell is going on? It's like very seldom I'll have internet issues. And I'll know when officially I'm having an internet issue because I can ask my Google device, hey, and anybody that has a Google device, if you're not connected to the internet, Google automatically tells you, I can't connect to the internet right now. Try again in a couple of minutes. So after dealing with headaches for a few months, and honestly, the final straw, I'll tell you what the final straw was too. The final straw was, I think, if not this past weekend, the weekend before. There was something that had went down, and I remember hitting up support And the claim is, oh, get support 24/7. That's the claim. You can get support 24/7. These guys did not reach out to me for almost 2 days. And when they did hit me back, oh, just click on this link right here. And even at that, the link that they gave me, it did not connect me directly to a live representative. So it was just, I scoffed at them and I said, well, I've already figured out my problem. Thanks for getting back to me 2 days later, though. I appreciate it. As I said that, plain as day. So we're with a new set of guys now. I've been trying them out, testing them out here and there behind the scenes, doing some private streams and all that, and everything seems to be going smoothly so far. I love it. I love the fact that we can now, anytime post is something in the chat. I love that no matter where they're coming from, I can now definitively see in real time, so I'm not going to miss anything, and I can highlight y'all's comment. I can highlight you all's comment. So I love that. That's badass. A little bit of wrestling news that we can get into here on the show here. Again, we're going to talk about the AEW All In card in just a hot little bit. By the way, you see all the stuff that's going on with Dave Meltzer? My God, it has not been his week, has it? All the stuff with the fake news, the ridiculous AEW metrics that he pulled from out of his ass, and it turns out that was something that was posted in a Discord server. What frustrates me the most is why people continue to give Dave Meltzer a free pass. What bothers me the most is why are there still people in 2024 continuing to pay Dave Meltzer? Because the quality of his, I'm being totally honest with you guys. Meltzer was somebody I used to respect greatly years prior, but he has made it harder and harder in recent years to continue to be a supporter, to continue to be an advocate and everything. Meltzer, the quality of his work, the quality of his research, everything has been on a diminish these past several years. 2024 alone has to be the year of some of the worst produced, not fact-checked news that Meltzer has put out there. I'm even hearing that when it came to the passing of Kevin Sullivan, I'm even hearing that the stuff that he had put together, even that was half-assed, and it wasn't a true. I know Brian Last has talked about this, but there's been others that I've spoken to in my respected circle, that have commented pretty much on the same thing that Brian Last has talked about as well, which has been, look, when it comes to certain wrestlers, passing, years prior, like the one thing that was always constant was you knew without a shadow of doubt Meltzer was going to put together a really great piece, a really, great in memoriam piece on that wrestler. And it was going to be so well-rounded. It was going to be very detailed, but not long-winded. It was going to be a great bookend / coda, if you will, on that wrestler's life, their time in the wrestling industry, all of that. So the fact that the work has continued to diminish, very, very alarming that I personally am finding. And how people in 2024 can continue to give this man money, it baffles me. It really, really baffles me. And this isn't coming from somebody that's, because I know some people say, you're just mad because you can't get into you can't get some of that money. You want what Dave. Oh, an alarm. Let me shut that up. You want what? No, on the contrary, I don't want what Dave has. And as far as money goes, look, I'd be lying if I said, hey, I could use a little bit more money. Sure. I think most Americans could use a little bit more money, especially dealing with these inflations that we're dealing with, right? Stuff is coming down, but it could be better. It could definitely, we all can agree to that. It could be a lot better. But no, my whole thing is, invest in those, as I've been saying for years, especially more and more within the past 2, maybe 3 years. Invest more in those that have actually been in the business, or if you're going to invest in a podcast that, maybe that host, hasn't been directly involved in the business, but maybe they've been involved indirectly. Even if they haven't been involved directly, at least they're able to help you make sense out of all the news and rumors that's being put out there. At least they're able to go over it all and tackle it in a true unbiased form, right? It's not just, okay, well, this is fact and this is what we're going to run with. So if you don't like that, suck it, right? I just wish more and more people would wise up and stop putting these Meltzers and all these other people on this pedestal. It's one thing if, hey, look, you know what? I can always take to the bank that what this person is putting out there, they've done their research, they know what they're talking about, right? It's so funny too. Because I'm gonna hold that thought. Because if I say what I'm thinking right now, I'm gonna piss off some people. But I'm gonna hold that thought. So some other stuff that's going on since last on air with you guys. Thoughts and prayers up for Rich Swann. I don't know if you guys had heard about this, but Rich Swann was recently suspended by TNA. As shout out to the people over at Post Wrestling. They are reporting, and you can definitely take this. I'm very familiar with Post Wrestling. They've done their own respected. These guys, very good, very good, very thorough. I give them a lot of props. Post Wrestling, they're reporting that Rich Swann was arrested apparently back on June 8th out in Florida and was charged with both disorderly public intoxication and causing a disturbance. Charges a misdemeanor. TNA told Post Wrestling on Wednesday that Swann is entering a substance abuse rehab program and has been suspended pending their investigation into the matter. The company was unaware. I want to stress that again. They were unaware of the arrest until contacted by the outlet for comment on Monday. Now, according to the arrest report, Swann attempted to forcefully enter through an apartment sometime close to 10 p.m. on the 8th of June. The resident of the apartment told police that he was in the shower and heard a loud banging on the door after his son started yelling for him. The man went to his room and grabbed his gun, telling Swann he had it and to leave. Swann allegedly started yelling, "This is my house." I'm sorry, was he watching one too many Swerve Strickland promos there? Whose house? Anyway, this is my house, after which the resident said they opened the door and showed their gun. Swann then allegedly backed up and left the property. So obviously some type of common sense there kicked in for him and all that. Resident then contacted police, and when they arrived, he told them that Swann had run toward the nearby woods. The apartment is apparently a short walk from Swann's own address. That resident said he didn't want to press charges against Swann despite his door being damaged. Very kind of him. But here's the thing. Once the local authorities have been called, that it's it. You can stick a fork in it, it's done, right? You know, like the best thing that could have happened was, look, you get off my property, you go do your, and I won't call the cops, right? Otherwise, you see this gun, you want to keep it up, we're gonna have some issues, obviously. But you know, once the cops are called, that's it. You can't freaking go back. You can't freaking go back. It is what it is. So anyway, the rest of this report, police located Swann, who appeared to be intoxicated, and took him into custody. The officer reported that he smelled of alcohol, as they were able to smell it on Swann's breath, and his speech was greatly slurred. He asked Swann if he had any alcohol, to which Swann said he did, and when asked how many drinks, Swann was very truthful and answered a lot. Swann said he begun drinking 3 hours ago. Swann was arrested and driven to the John E. Polk Correction Facility in Sanford, Florida, was released the next day on a $250 bond and submitted an affidavit. Pretty much, it's basically an application for a public defender for those who cannot afford an attorney. He was denied the request and charged $50. Swann appeared to have indicated he was homeless on the application, even though he has a home address, according to other records. He's being defended by a private attorney. Pre-trial conference was scheduled for today. The report adds that Swann was charged with the same offense, for those of you keeping tabs at home, back in September of 2022 after causing a disturbance in his apartment complex, and he was fined over $350. So that's where we stand right now with Rich Swann. Now, you know, if there was ever a time to get off of the alcohol, whatever other substance, you name it, if there was ever a time to, you know what, we got to be done with this because this isn't doing any good right now. Like, now is the time. Let's not forget, Rich Swann, I don't know if he married her, but I know that Sue Young is his baby mama because he's got a kid with Sue Young. I remember that. So if there was ever a time to have motivation for, okay, you know what? I really got to get my shit together. I've really got to do right because it's not just about me anymore. There's this little kid that is about to come into the picture, and you know, for them, I got to do right by them because as I continue to get older and I keep dealing with this stupid crap, there's no telling what type of an influence that's going to have on my child. Furthermore, as my child gets older and they see me doing this crap, I don't want them getting the impression that this is cool, it's okay to do it because daddy is doing it. Like, no, I gotta set the right, you feel me? Especially now, look, you'll have some people that'll go, you know, hey, I can handle my alcohol just fine. Well, apparently not, because after a certain amount of drinks, you pretty much are high on cloud nine. So yeah, no. And usually when you have a situation kind of like what went down here with Rich Swann, that normally would be enough to shake somebody up, especially if a kid is in the picture. It's usually enough to shake a person up and have them go in the right direction. Look, this is the first time that we've heard of some type of an issue with Rich Swann. You know, it's obvious that this brother is struggling with some demons. And I really, really, and I sincerely mean this, especially for his kid. I really hope he's able to get all of this nipped in the bud. I find it interesting that on the report, he's saying that he's homeless. You can't help but wonder in regards to the living situation. Let's just say hypothetically speak, because I know some people will just glance past that and they'll just, drunk. But let's just say hypothetically speaking, no, when he was filling out this documentation or relaying this information to his lawyer, let's just say hypothetically speaking, he was in a sober state of mind. He was in a state of clarity, great clarity. And he's relaying whatever, to his public defender. And the question is brought up about, his living status and all that. What if? It's okay to speculate. So as long as we are letting it be known, we're speculating. Okay. There's nothing wrong with speculating and discussing amongst ourselves. But what if what he was relaying to his attorney was, no, I'm actually homeless. Yeah, this place might be in my name or this might be the last address on file, yada, yada, yada. But my baby mama kicked me out of the house because XYZ. What if that maybe is going on? What if he has reached a boiling point with Su Yung and Su Yung has essentially put her foot down and said, yo, I can't continue to do this, especially now that we have a child. You're going to continue to roll like this. You can't stay here. You cannot stay here. You need to go sleep elsewhere. And, if you don't leave and you make this much worse, I will call the authorities. So, there's a whole lot of moving parts to this. You should be thinking kind of everything that I laid out. I really hope whatever is going on, he's able to put a curb stomp to this and nip it, not just for himself, but because there is a little one in the picture. So Godspeed and speedy recovery. You gotta get rid of all those vices. That's so passionate to me because I dealt with a direct relative, that as far as substance abuse goes and all that, they dealt with it for years. And as I would be the first to tell anybody, whether it's alcohol, or it's the hard drugs, it's like, it's not easy. It's not easy. In the case of my relative, they were eventually able to string it all together because they had a couple of relapses, but eventually they were able to string it all together one day at a time. And, they've now been clean and sober for almost close to 20 years now. Almost close to 20 years now. So you got to take it one day at a time. Some other interesting notes want to bring to you guys attention here has to do with a woman apparently being injured during a Hulk Hogan beer event. I don't know if you guys had heard about this, but apparently while Hulk Hogan was out there doing his promotional tour event for his American beer brand on Monday, it was out in Cleveland. Apparently, the local ABC News affiliate out there are reporting that there was a woman that was hurt during the event in Medina, Ohio, where she was hit by a thrown beer that knocked her to the floor. apparently, the woman ended up getting multiple stitches. So, I mean, how's that for karma for you? Or in this case, Kamala karma for you? Because this is the same event. For you guys that don't know, this is the same event where the Hulkster had this viral, really bad joke where he was asking, if Kamala Harris was Indian or if she was a chameleon. and that Native American trope, for those of you that's not really able to put two and two together, and that kind of, he knew he messed up. He knew he stepped into something knee deep, because the next thing you know, in the same breath, he's like, this isn't gonna go well. He caught himself. He knew like the damage was already done. Lord have mercy. Why am I not surprised? Seriously, why am I not surprised when it comes to the Hulkster? Why am I not surprised? And people wonder why I still have a heart on for the Hulkster. Yeah. Yeah. That's like Vince McMahon. It's almost like a Vince McMahon situation, isn't it? Because you can appreciate the contributions that the Hulkster / Vince McMahon made for the industry. You appreciate all the contributions. But then once you put the business stuff to the side and you just look at what's going on from a personal standpoint with those individuals, you just go, appreciate their contributions, but it's like, For you guys that are thinking about going to the first edition of SmackDown, when Roman Reigns, he's back and everything's doing good. And I'm talking about when SmackDown makes his debut on the USA Network coming up in September. Apparently, for that SmackDown debut that's happening on September 13th on the USA Network, Roman Reigns is no longer being advertised for that show. Remember, that's going to be happening in Seattle, Washington. So we've got listeners up in the Seattle, Washington area. So shout out to you guys. Not sure what's going on with that, but no Roman Reigns on that show. Hopefully you guys will still be going, because you're still going to be a part of some fun history. SmackDown USA, I think, regardless, it's still going to be a loaded up show. Speaking of shows and all that, John Cena, I have not seen his new movie that is on Amazon. I gotta make sure I check that out this weekend, and I'll definitely come back and review it for you guys. But John Cena revealed, and I cannot wait to watch this, because I love me some Club Shay Shay. I love me some Club Shay Shay. If you want to, get me interacting with you, you want to pick my brain on something, talk to me about Club Shay Shay. Talk to me about Club Shay Shay. Talk to me about anything Shannon Sharp related. Like, I love what Shannon Sharp is doing. I don't care for Nightcap with Ocho Cinco. Ocho offers nothing for me personally. Like, the only time I will tolerate Nightcap, is, okay, it's football season. Okay, I definitely want to hear from both guys, right? But I love Club Shay Shay. So John Cena recently appeared on Club Shay Shay. So that is going to be firing on all cylinders and everything. But he told Shannon Sharp that just because he's doing what he's going to be doing with his in-ring farewell tour next year, and it pretty much wraps up in 2026, he revealed that it won't end, as apparently he has some type of a extension with WWE that he described as going to be going into the long-term future. So very curious, as far as a Legends deal goes, we already know John Cena's name, likeliness, like we know we're going to continue to, but is there much more to it than that? That's what I'm most curious about. I'm hoping that when WWE gets ready to do Bash in Berlin in a couple of weeks, somebody will follow up on that Club Shay Shay interview, since John Cena opened the door there a little bit, and Triple H, Paul Levesque, and crew will shed some more light on that. Other than that, let's go ahead and let's talk AEW All In. All right. So we got that coming up this Sunday night, August 25th. Boy, I tell you what, man, I really hope that's not going to be a long, long night. I wish that this was going down Labor Day weekend. How about you? I wish it was Labor Day weekend that this was going down, but it is what it is. London, England, Wembley Stadium. Right now, we got 10 matches that's on the card. Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway taking on Willow Nightingale and Ishii in a mixed tag team match. The winning team will choose the stipulation of the match between Nightingale and Statlander at All Out. So remember, the ramifications from this match at All In is going to set up All Out between the girls. I am going to go with I am going to go with Chris Statlander. And keep in mind, this is for your pre-show. I'm going to go with Chris Statlander. Meanwhile, Timeless Toni Storm takes on the Glamour Mariah May singles match for the AEW Women's World Championship. I really love the way things have gone down here between Toni Storm and Mariah May. As far as rivalries goes, everything as far as building up, they have done this very well. Very well. I'm very proud at how they've handled this. Man, tough call. Because part of me is looking at this and going, you know what? New women's champion. I'm just trying to picture this here in my mind. You know what? I'm going to be a man of my convictions. I'm going to follow my convictions here. I'm going to go with Mariah May as your new AEW Women's Champion. Trying to think if I could see Toni Storm. Yeah, no, I'm going to go. Yes, I'm going to go with Mariah May. That's fine. I wouldn't mind seeing a Toni Storm has essentially gone the babyface route and everything, but I can't help but wonder what happens with the timeless Toni Storm character going forward after a Mariah May takes the title off of her. Does that switch up her psyche a little bit, or does that kind of bring her a little bit more into modern Toni Storm, or kind of one of those? Yeah. I would like to see Mariah May. MJF taking on Will Ospreay, hands down. I am going with. Hang on a second here, guys. No, we're good. I'm going with. I'm looking at my timer here because I forgot to erase my memory card for audio. I think I'm okay though. I think I have 17, but we're almost done. So I should be able to get the audio recording of this. After the events that I saw tonight with Dynamite and everything, I am more than convinced that Will Ospreay will become the AEW American Champion. I'm going with MJF losing the AEW American Championship to Will Ospreay. I've got this championship, being the first major, since joining AEW. I'm going with Will Ospreay capturing this championship here. Meanwhile, Jack Perry defending the TNT championship against Darby Allin. Ooh. Ooh. Oh man, they really on this one, aren't they? I'm gonna go with Jack Perry. Just a little bit I've been seeing since I've been dipping my head, checking out Dynamite and Collision so far. I like what's been kind of happening here with Jack Perry. By the way, love that video that's circulating online of Jack Perry reimagining and rebuilding per se the TNT championship. Love that. I'm gonna go with Jack Perry for the retain. Mercedes Monet defending the TBS championship against Britt Baker. I thought I saw that right. Yeah, I knew it was only seconds. Hang on here. No, we're still good. Okay. The recorder is giving me mixed messages. I wish it would stop doing that. Anyway, Mercedes Monet taking on Britt Baker. How much of a factor that in mind? I'm gonna go with Monet for the retain here. But how much of a factor is Camille Brickhouse going to be? That's the $1 million question. You know she's going to try to get in a lick or two based off what happened this week with Mercedes Monet jumping on her. Correction, with Britt Baker jumping on her there. You know Camille's looking for that receipt. Meanwhile, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Hangman Adam Page, Evil Uno, 17 others, Casino Gauntlet match for future AEW World Championship match. I'm going to go with Hangman. I'm going to go with Hangman Adam Page. I'm going to go with Hangman Adam Page. I'll come back to why in a little bit, but you should see just the way I tease that. You should kind of see where I'm going here with that. Chris Jericho taking on Hook. Last chance match for the FTW Championship. Stipulations are simple. If Hook loses, he can never challenge for the FTW Championship for as long as Jericho is the champion. I'm going with Hook, hands down. Hook, hands down. Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed. Three-way dance for the AEW World Tag Titles. You know, I have been a fan of the Acclaimed for a good minute now, and they have yet, I'm talking about the Acclaimed, for as long as they have been in AEW, the fact that these guys have only been a one-time AEW set of tag champions, that's just a travesty when I hear that. It really is, because they've been in AEW's like practically since day one, and they've only been a one-time set of tag champions. And that reign didn't even last that long. So there's a part of me that's looking at this right here and going, look, Bucks don't really need this. FTR really does not need this. Come on, can we show the Acclaim some love already? Come on, man. Everybody loves the Acclaim. Lee loves the Acclaim. I know a lot of people love the Acclaim. I think the Acclaimed are catching fire right now. So I would love to see them with a second chance at being the AEW World Tag Champions. I would love to see them eventually mash it up with the MXM collection. Mansoor and Madden, they're growing on me. They are growing on me. It's taking some weeks, but they're starting to grow on me, even though I've seen that gimmick over and over and over again. Right down to the point we can currently see that incarnation on SmackDown with what is it? Lethal Deadly. Yeah, we can see those guys. But the MXM collection, it's growing on me big time. We could also see him mix it up there with Top Flight, Private Party. This could be the tag team that could actually go between all three shows as a tag team, and really put even more great emphasis on the tag division, it being taken to new heights and everything. So we'll see how it pans out, but I'm going with the Acclaimed. Meanwhile, we got a four-way London ladder match for the AEW World Trios Championship. We've got Christian Cage, Killswitch, Nick Wayne taking on the Bang Bang Gang, taking on the House of Black, taking on the Blackpool Combat Club. Oof. I would love to see the House of Black. I would love to see the House of Black, but then it's kind of like, Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with the House of Black. I'm gonna go with the House of Black. I can see the ramifications coming from out of that too. I can just see Christian Cage coming from that motherfucker. You know who's to blame for this? You know who's to blame for this? You know who didn't do their job right? I can just see poor Kill Switch getting the blame there. But will that finally be the breaking point to which Kill Switch has had enough? And he's like, you know what? You know, like and we're feeling sympathy for Kill Switch and all that. It's because it's been a running gag so far, and you can't help but wonder as the fan viewing this, when is enough enough? When has Kill Switch had enough? And he just goes, screw this guy. So I can easily see two things going down here as far as one, not only crowning a new set of champions, but then two, further progressing that story arc with Kill Switch. And then not to mention the House of Black, at least a few times I've poked my head in. Now you got to forgive me, haven't really been watching Collision. So if stuff's been happening on Collision, specifically with House of Black and Blackpool Combat Club, you all have to chat me up on it. But just what I've been seeing with Dynamite and when I watch Rampage, you know, it just kind of feels to me like House of Black has just kind of been floating there just a little bit. Blackpool Combat Club, almost the same thing. Even if it was a case where Blackpool Combat Club were to get the titles, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But at this point, I just kind of feel as though we need to go in a new direction here with those trios titles. Last but not least, we got the title versus career match for the AEW World Championship. Swerve Strickland defending against Bryan Danielson. Now, remember what I said earlier. Keep that Hangman Page winning that. I think Swerve is going to win this. I think Swerve is going to win this. But what I think is going to be the most, oh, hang on a second, guys. This is actually important. This is money. Let me just do this real quick. Give me a second, guys, and you'll have my undivided attention. Let's put this on. What's today? It's now Thursday. Well, we're getting ready to go into Thursday. All right, hang on, guys. And we're good. Okay. Yeah. I got Swerve winning this. You would think that, okay, no, this is a foregone, bygone conclusion that Bryan Danielson, he's going to win this. He's going to finally become the AEW World Champion. And, you know, I don't think so, y'all. I don't think so. I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. I actually would be shocked if Bryan Danielson comes out of this as the AEW World Champion. Now, granted, this isn't a Cody Rhodes situation, but Bryan Danielson has said, you know, numerous times, hey, look, I'm not interested in being the world champion. You know, I just want to put on some really great matches. So I want to do whatever I can to, you know, help push this company forward. And, you know, now look, if you are able to talk Bryan Danielson into, yo, you need to be the world champion right now, and not to mention, it would help us out big time as far as viewership, you know, the audience, you know, new traction, new buzz, you know, blah this, blah that. Lord knows, ain't no John Moxley. Moxley's chilling somewhere. I don't know where, but he's chilling on another planet right now. So if you want to make an argument for Bryan Danielson and why it should be, but you know, no, I could actually see this going down in a way where Swerve picks up the win. Man, that would be such mega heat and everything, but talk about an extra big freaking endorsement and what that would do for the current reign of Swerve Strickland. But then at the same time, coming back full circle between Swerve and Hangman and the great rivalry that they've had, and to essentially follow that up at All Out, Yeah, I really like the idea of Swerve retaining the championship, but essentially is not able to bask in the glory that long, because I can just see a rabid dog Hangman Adam Page, like what we've been getting. He's pretty much been like a loose cannon, if you will. Brian Pillman. I can see him just right back, oh my God, just inserting himself aggressively right back into the mix there, reigniting that feud with Swerve Strickland. I can also see this as a good way to have Bryan Danielson be taken off television for a little while. That way he can have not just more time with his family, but as far as seeking consulting with a doctor or two for that second, third opinion. Hey, do I really need to get this surgery? Is there any other way? Like, do I absolutely have to? Like, I can also see that going down, and they can always, that's the fun world of professional wrestling. They can always come back and somehow figure out a way to reinsert Bryan Danielson. They can easily figure out a way to have Swerve Strickland essentially be the guy that says, hey, look, I'm the one that retired Bryan Danielson, but I'm also the one that essentially holds the power. Like, I can bring back, and I told Tony Khan, hey, look, this match might have went down, but I am down for having this guy, and I won't take any legal action. I'm down for this guy being inserted back into. I could see something like that playing out as well, but I'm just not sure about a Bryan Danielson type. I'm having a hard time seeing that, especially with everything that's going on legit with the guy health wise and all that. That would be such a weird 180, wouldn't it? All the stuff that he's been saying months prior, couple of years prior, and now he's a champion. I don't know about that. That's where I'm going, though. All right, so one more time, I am looking at Statlander picking up the win in that mixed tag match there with Stokely Hathaway. Meanwhile, Mariah May becomes your new AEW Women's Champion. Ospreay becomes your new American Champion. Jack Perry retains the TNT Championship. Mercedes Moné retains the TBS Championship. Hangman Page wins the Casino Gauntlet for a future shot at the AEW World Title. Hook picks up and reclaims the FTW Championship. The Acclaim become your new AEW World Tag Team Champions. Too close to call, but I'm going with the House of Black to become your new AEW World Trios Champions. And in the main event, title versus career for the AEW World Title, I'm going with Swerve Strickland for the shocking retain. And yes, I will be live with you guys when AEW All In is in the book. So make sure you join me live. We'll be streaming on multiple platforms. You know how we're going to do it. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be so much fun. Yo, appreciate you guys that's been representing, checking out the show on demand and on the downloads. You all know who you are. Checking out all the analytics, especially for the show and audio format. You guys have been representing all month long for the month of August. Keep it rocking. Keep it moving. I love it. Shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to everybody that supports the show. Y'all know exactly who you are. And let's do this again this weekend. Until next go round, my pretty babies, I am wishing all of you all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Get at your man all throughout social media. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Peace, everybody. And I'll see you guys for All In weekend.